Good day, everyone. Thank you so much for being with us today. My name is Kyle Hollyfield. I'm the Executive Vice President of Magellan Advisors. And Magellan Advisors is a full turnkey implementation broadband consulting firm. We build networks all across the country, all the way from feasibility studies through actual construction and construction management, design engineering, and other tasks that need to be done. And we want to thank the Texas Municipal League for having us on today. We are a big supporter of theirs, and we look forward to many years of working with the Texas Municipal League. Today, we're going to be talking to the folks at Mont Belvieu in Texas, obviously, and we're going to be discussing their project and a little bit about what they've done and how they've done it. I'd like to introduce the people from Mont Belvieu. First is the city manager, Nathan Watkins. And Nathan, you want to wave at the people? Show where you're at?
Yeah, how you doing?
How you doing, Nathan? Nathan is with us today.
I'm good.
We have the assistant city manager, Scott Swigert. And there's Scott.
Hello.
And we have their IT director, Dwight Thomas. Hey, Dwight.
Hello to all.
So again, thanks Mont Belvieu so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your time. We know that your time is valuable, especially during a stressful, challenging time we're going through right now through the country. But we want to thank you for being here and expressing some of the things that you've gone through. I know that it'll be a big benefit to other municipalities and cities and counties inside Texas. So to get started, maybe one of you, and I'm thinking maybe Nathan, but whoever wants to take it, maybe one of you could just give us a little background on Mont Belvieu, where you're at, and kind of a little bit about the city.
Sure. Mont Belvieu is a small municipality. We're a population of about 8,000. We're approximately 30 miles east of Houston along the I-10 corridor. We're an oil and gas town, specifically concentrated in the storage and processing of natural gas liquids. The price for natural gas liquids is set at Belvieu on the NASDAQ market. Wow. And just recently, Houston Business Journal named Mont Belvieu one of the fourth fastest growing city in the Houston region. So we're a small city in Southeast Texas that's growing rapidly and innovating and trying to deliver high quality services to our residents.
So that slogan, small town that goes big, is really matches the Mont Belvieu, sounds like.
That's correct.
So because you are so progressive and actually are growing so fast, it looks like you saw a need very quickly for broadband. So would somebody like to maybe discuss a little bit about what MB Connect is, and a little bit about the background of MB Connect, about what you do and how it is and how it came about? Who would like to take it on?
So I'll answer that one. Approximately in 2012 and 13, we started looking at the feasibility of how we could bring high-speed, reliable internet to the city of Mont Belvieu. During that time frame, it really just wasn't an option for our residents and our businesses to receive high-speed, reliable internet. At the time we first started this project, average speeds across the city were 1.5 megabytes per second. And that was over DSL. And there actually wasn't even enough DSL lines to service the entire community. They did sign-up periods once or twice a year, and you had to wait for a number of the accounts to either fall off because people were canceling their services for whatever reason, and then they would do sign-up periods. We equated that to modern-day dial-up, 1.5 megabytes per second, and after 2010 is something that's just very hard to operate in. So we approached a lot of the telecommunications company and said, how can we get you to come in and overbuild at Mont Belvieu? Their response was, we just can't do it. The penetration rates aren't going to be there. The capital costs are going to be too high. We're sorry, there's nothing we can do. And sometime during the process, shortly after we started looking at it, a cable provider did come in, and they started offering cable service to a lot of our residents in the community, and they were advertising speeds of 15 megabytes per second, but that was hardly ever realized, and they had very frequent outages across the community. So from a reliability standpoint, that wasn't a feasible option either. And then the telcos wanted to charge our home builders to come into their communities, and the prices were ranging between $3,000 and $5,000 to connect them to high-speed internet to offset their capital costs. The developer chose not to pay that. We had some subdivisions in our community with new homes built, $300,000 plus homes that had no internet to the home at all. They were having to use hotspots to access the internet in our community. And then our residents started reaching out to our city council and saying, you know, this really isn't acceptable. We can't conduct business and live in this community. Our businesses were saying the same thing. We have a local construction business that supports oil and gas industry. They do a lot of 3D mapping and surveying of facilities before they go in and start a major construction project. And they were actually using courier service to run data on hard drives between their location here in Mont Belvieu and Corpus Christi. And whenever you start hearing those kind of stories, you know, we came to the realization very quick that we really had to get serious about bringing high-speed, reliable internet to our community, and that's what kicked off the process for envylink and our partnership with Magellan.
Thanks, Nathan. You know, it's really interesting. Your plight is very similar to many other cities around the nation. We see it a lot.
Yeah.
One of the things that we see, though, is the challenge of just getting started. So it's one thing to recognize there's a problem, and it's another thing to define the problem, but it's a totally different thing to actually take a positive step towards solving that problem. So a lot of cities that we deal with and a lot of communities we deal with always say to us, how do I get started? As someone that's been through that process, would one of you like to talk about those first couple of steps that were important to you to get started?
Yeah, I think one of the things I appreciate most, and one of the things that was presented to me by my former city manager a long time ago, was in local government, very seldom do you have to invent the wheel. Somebody's already done it somewhere. It's just a matter of finding who's tackled the problem. And then you reach out to them, and you get to leverage their experiences to make sure that you can deliver a quality product to your community. However, in getting into high-speed, reliable internet and fiber to the home project, there wasn't anybody we could reach out to in Texas that had done a project to the scale and magnitude that we were looking at doing it. We did look at some other cities that were doing it in certain areas. Ponca City, Oklahoma is one that's been doing this for a long time. We reached out to them early on. And there's a couple other cities, but we were the first one that tackled it for 100% of this businesses with our mission to bring on 100% of the community. It's available to all of our residents, all of our businesses, all at one time. So we really got started with a survey. As I'd mentioned previously, our residents and some of our business owners had reached out to city council and expressed their challenges they were facing and wanted to know what options we could bring to the table to do that. And then, so we started with a survey of our residents and businesses to really gauge how they viewed high-speed, reliable internet. And the biggest takeaway from that was more than 90% of our community, business and residential, viewed high-speed, reliable internet as critical infrastructure similar to water and sewer. It's something that you can't operate without in today's day and age with so many connected devices, people working from home. And so we started the process. We kicked it off and said, what would a fiber to the home project look like in Mont Belvieu? We conducted a feasibility study that proved that it was possible, set a budget estimate of around $13 million. And then we got the go ahead from the city council to proceed on the project. And the first major hurdle was to reach out to the Attorney General and engage their thoughts on issuing debt to build a fiber to the home project. They communicated back to us there was nothing in their research they could find where a city had been authorized to do that before, and they requested that we ask for, or that we take it to district court and get a declaratory judgment from a judge stating that this is an area where cities can get into and that they can issue public debt for it. We used case law from the early 1900s when cities were getting into the electrical business, and you could literally just take out electricity and plug in fiber to the home or fiber or high-speed reliable internet, and it went right through. In that case law, it fit right away. It was something that cities were challenged with in the early 1900s, was getting electricity to everybody, and they argued that everybody should have access to electricity, and we argued the same thing for broadband and a high-speed reliable network. So we took it to our district court judge, and he agreed with us and set the case law to allow municipalities to get into the broadband fiber business.
Wow.
And that's how we got started. And from there, we went into design and started putting fiber in the ground.
So first things first a little bit. So actually there's restrictions in Texas about what cities can do, correct? And when it comes
That's
to
correct.
When it comes to infrastructure. And up until what you guys did, it was pretty much thought that cities could not do their own broadband for their own city unless maybe they were some way grandfathered under an old law or something. So I guess what your advice to communities is, broadband is a utility. It's a required utility. It's a substantial utility for growth of the community and stabilization, and therefore you should look into it as far as a regulatory issue. And could you talk a little bit more about the funding issue, about how that was tied to the regulatory issue, Nathan?
Yeah, so the PUC states that cities cannot offer voice or video, but it is silent regarding to internet or broadband capabilities, and that's really where we emphasize that. Yes, we're precluded from doing video and voice, but that's not our goal. We're trying to provide a high-speed, reliable internet system to our residents and businesses, and that's outside of that. We had no intention of offering voice or video over our network, and that's really where we declared we were going to do, and that's what we've done, and that's where the judge agreed with us that we could get into that space.
Fantastic. So as we kind of do an overview of what you said so far, it seems to me like you had a problem, you defined the problem, you found a cure for the problem, you put together a plan to solve the problem, and next thing you know, you say you're putting fiber in the ground. That's a pretty quick plan and a pretty quick result. I guess my question is, how did cities and communities don't have the resources internally usually to be able to do all the things you need to do to set up a network? So what I'd like for you to talk about, if you don't mind, is about how the partnership between Magellan and Mont Belvieu helped this process along. Some of the things that we were able to help you with.
Yeah, so and I think looking back, it seems like the process went really fast, but it was many years in the making. One of the biggest things, one of the biggest hurdles I had to overcome was, is this a city, is this a space that municipalities should be in? And our city council shared the same question. The first 2 years we took the feasibility study to them, it was denied. They said, we're really just, we've heard from our residents, but, no cities are doing this right now. They're not cities aren't internet service providers. So we requested the feasibility study. It was denied. We conducted the survey. Our council is like most councils across the state, really take serious the comments and the concerns that our public faces. And then they agreed to fund the feasibility as kind of let's look and see what it would look like. Let's establish a budget and see if this is feasible. And that's whenever we contracted with Magellan, was to provide a feasibility study, develop a very high-level business model. Could this project service its own debt? And then what would the overall budget be to build a high-speed, reliable internet system for our community? And then actually, what would it look like? Whenever we first started the project, we didn't only evaluate fiber to the home or a fiber network system. We looked at wireless system, It was in the mid 2000s. A lot of municipalities were getting into wireless mesh networks. So we were able to learn from the lessons they offered. And it came out that the feasibility said that, we have 65 miles of roadway here in the city of Mont Belvieu. By constructing a data center to house all of our equipment, laying all the fiber in the ground, delivering it to our residents, to support its own debt, we were going to have to penetrate about 60 to 65% of the market after 4 years. And then looking at that, we had enough room, we had enough capacity to issue the debt without a tax rate increase, which was instrumental in getting into this for us. And council then it did start moving pretty quickly. Council said, "Hey, look, this is a real project. We need to consider." The public had gotten behind it. At that point, they were aware of the feasibility study because of the survey and what we were evaluating, and then they were pretty much got the green light.
Maybe from a technical viewpoint, there's probably some technical people viewing today and listening today. Could you give us just a little brief overview technically of what the network looks like, how it's made up, how it's distributed, things like that?
Sure. envylink is a 100% fiber optic network. It's completely underground, so we have nothing above ground. And we serve 100% of our community. I guess to get a little bit more technical, just to kind of satisfy some of the propeller heads like me out there. This is the GPON network. We support services such as GPON, XGPON, we have capability as well. We also provide active Ethernet services, other services such as your traditional Metro Ethernet services, E-line, T-line, so those things. But the network itself, I guess the best part about the network itself is that it was engineered with the citizens in mind. So when we were putting this together, working with you guys, of course, we thought about the citizens, what the citizens would need, and what that network should look like, because we had the advantage of looking at what we currently have, right? What was currently provided by other national providers. So we took the data from that and used that to build what we have now, which is a fast, reliable, and affordable network. We offer things such as battery backups that provide 6 to 8 hours of backup time should we have a power surge, sag, or brownout. We offer up to 1 gigabit up and down, so symmetrical bandwidth so that you can do whatever you want and connect to whatever you want. We provide certain valet style services such as 100% remote support. If you need additional services, so for instance, you buy that new device, that new Alexa device, you want to connect it, you have problems connected, we definitely will send a tech out to help you do it. Because we realize that in order for envylink to be successful, truly successful, we must take care of our subscribers too by making sure that what they purchased can be leveraged and used by the network.
Great, Dwight. It's extremely rewarding, I'm sure, to be a gigabit city. That puts you in the top 1% across the country of gold standard of broadband. So congratulations. That's a great thing. And I'm sure you can go to 10 gigabit or 40 gigabit in the future if it's needed. So,
yes.
It's designed that way.
It's designed to be elastic, and it can expand as needed.
Fantastic. So one of the things that I wanted to briefly touch on, if you could, is, city governments and city facilities are about infrastructure and about providing services to the residents. And they're really good about that. But the one thing that they're not always so good about is how do you compete in a competitive environment, competitive marketplace. So when you decide to get into this business, what was a couple of steps you took to make sure that you could communicate with the customer and how you could recruit customers and move your penetration rate up to where the financial model and financial plan would work for you? What were some of the steps you took on the marketing and sales side of it? Could you address that briefly?
Okay, I'll take that one.
Okay.
Like you mentioned, we are now competing against the national telecoms, and we definitely don't have the budget or the funding or the resources that they have across the nation, but we do have the hometown. And so there's a lot of things that we have focused on hometown network. So we utilize Facebook quite a bit. We utilize our website. We're out in the community. So whenever there's a chamber luncheon, we're there. When there's a special event at the parks, we're there. You know, we're out and about. And that's one of the things that you benefit. You know, when you go to the grocery store, you go to your church, you go to your bank, you go to the store, you're running into our envylink employees and you see them and recognize them. You don't get that with the national telecoms. You know, and so we are the citizens and we are the community. And so we utilize that. One of the things that we also have done is we lit the football stadium for the high school. You know, so Friday night lights, you know, it was a big thing in Texas. And so, you know, when people are at the football stadium, they get free Wi-Fi provided by envylink in the city of Mont Belvieu. We also recently added the city park. And so we lit that. And so now when you go to watch your kids' Little League game or just go to the park to go play, there you are. You know, you're utilizing envylink as well. And it's provided by the city and provided that it's your hometown network and your hometown provider. So it's one of those things that we truly focus on that hometown. Like Dwight said, you know, if you have something that you need a problem, an issue connecting a device, we'll come to you. You know, we give you that extra white glove treatment when we come to you. And so a big thing that we have is word of mouth. You know, because we do have the battery backups and when the powers go out, you know, your internet still works. So you're able to still communicate. You know, and so that word of mouth spreads and gets out and people want to be a part of that. And again, it's just, as you see envylink around, we've got our main envylink vehicle is wrapped with envylink design. And so it's driving around as it shows up to the store, as it shows up to your house, you see that, you recognize it. Of course, all of our trucks are dual branded with envylink and City of Mont Belvieu. So that people see that and know that it's their hometown, it's their network, it's their internet provider. And so it's been a benefit for that. Now we do have a challenge that because we are a local provider, people that are moving in don't know about us. You know, they're not used to it because they've never heard of us. And so that's one of the challenges that we've had is working with our realtors and our home builders to make sure that they are promoting and marketing for us so that when a new person comes in, they don't already have a contract that they're having to keep or that they can't get out of. So, you know, when they come to get water and sign up for water, trash, and sewer at the city, we try to market to them. But as we talked about, internet is essential. And so sometimes they've already got their contract for internet before they even get their water and sewer, you know, signed up. But we try to hit them right there at the first window. We try to get with our realtors. We try to get with our builders, promote envylink, so we get them as soon as they move in.
Well, it sounds like you broke the code there because local is really what it's all about, providing that local service where everybody feels like they're part of the process. It's actually a community asset that everybody owns in common. And so that's really an important way to look at it. So speaking of your marketing and sales efforts, maybe you could tell us a little bit about how you are towards your goals of penetration rates, you know, how connectivity is going, and how successful you've been at this point towards your goals. Could you tell a little bit about where you're at as far as penetration and maybe a couple of stories about some successes?
Yeah, I think right now we've exceeded our penetration rate goals. Like I had mentioned before, we hope to be at 60 to 65% penetration after 4 years. 2 years into rolling out envylink, we've penetrated 70% of the market. We have 70% of our residents own envylink right now, which is absolutely tremendous. I think one of the biggest success stories, and it's a testament to the pent-up demand for high-speed, reliable internet in Mont Belvieu, is before we even went live, we sold 700 subscriptions before we connected the first home. So it was tremendous support for envylink once the community knew it was coming out there. And since then, we continue to sign people up. Coronavirus hit in March, and we saw a significant uptick in subscriptions then. We signed up about 300 new users between March and May because everybody's working from home. They're doing conferences from home. The kids are attending school from home. And I think more than anything, that proves that it is critical infrastructure. I think that's the biggest argument any city can make for getting into this utility, is that it's something that everybody needs to have access to. And Dwight can talk about what he's seen on the system and the usage in the system as well, pre-coronavirus and post-coronavirus.
Sure. So yes, we've seen substantial growth with our internet traffic since that time. So pre-COVID, we're probably at about 6.5 gig average and about 8 gig peak. Since COVID, we've been at about 7.5 gig average and about 10 gig peak, and now we're looking at still in the COVID period, but kind of moving more into the work from home, learn from home period. We're at about 8.5 gig average and about 17.5 gig peak. So you can definitely see that there's a big increase in bandwidth. But I think one of the important things too to note is that during this time, envylink has not had to throttle anybody's bandwidth. We've not had to cap anything or slow anything down. So we were able just to add on to what we've built and to continue to meet the demand as it comes.
Another thing I'd like to add is I mentioned earlier that we're one of the fastest growing cities in the Houston area. We're doing about 200 new single family residents a year. And what we're experiencing in our new subdivision is a 90+% penetration rate. And that was something that Scott alluded to, but how we accomplish that is we go into the model home as soon as it's constructed. Obviously, we know when the permits are being filed for that home to be built. We put it on our list. We make sure we stop by. We connect the model home at no cost. So the salespeople are in there utilizing envylink and getting experience. And then they're selling it for us as the new homeowners come in and purchase their homes. They're telling them, oh, this is an envylink connected home and envylink connected community. And when you get your water and sewer, you can just go ahead and sign up for it right there. It's great. You're going to love it. And the penetration rates at 90+% are absolutely amazing. And it's really helped drive that percentage up for us on our total penetration rate. I think we only have 2 subdivisions in the community that we have a less than 50% penetration rate in. We have some that we have 100% penetration rate in, and that's another thing that you get to do as a local entity, and you can go out and market directly to them, where the big telecom companies simply can't do that.
Wow, what a great story. Well, we're running out of time, gentlemen. First of all, I want to thank you again for your time today. Thank you especially for being a Magellan client. We love our customers. And we thank you for the partnership through the whole journey that you guys took. Before we leave, is there any last thing you'd like to say to some of the Texas Municipal League members about your experience, or any kind of suggestions or anything that you'd like to say before we leave today?
Yeah, I always like to close with just, as you hear our story, you don't necessarily have to do it exactly like Mont Belvieu did it. There's a lot of different ways to deliver this service to your community. So I always encourage people, no matter what, fiber is the future. Get it in the ground. There's ways to use it that we're not utilizing it today. The technology changes so rapidly. I just encourage cities to really consider utilizing fiber as much as they can.
Well, thank you, Nathan, and team, the Mont Belvieu team. It's been a real pleasure, and thank you again for your time today. I'm sure that there's a lot of people out there that will get a lot out of this for their own benefit. And thank you, Texas Municipal League, for having us today. Again, thanks so much, Mont Belvieu, and we'll see you in another session. Have a good day.